They are.
Yeah, I was gonna try to sophisticate one of them. I'd like to have one.
Nope.
What's that? The inside of it.
June 5th evening meeting of the Commissioners. I'd like to welcome everyone. There are Title VI forms on the back table. If you care to fill one of those out and turn it in at the auditor's office. If you'd all stand, I'm going to ask Todd House to lead us in the pledge, followed by a prayer by Reverend Don Moss.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please pray with me. Good evening, Father. We come to you on this Monday evening, ready to serve another week here on earth. I ask that you cover this meeting with your healing and guiding hand. Direct all here to be led by you. We are thankful for their work for our county. God, your name is majestic in all the earth, and we come together and pray to you who calms the raging waters and commands the wind to provide us sufficient rain to meet the needs of our farmers with their crops and livestock. Father, we need rain. We are mindful of our independence on you for all that sustains our bodies and soul. Open the heavens and bring the waters down from above. Bring down nourishing rains that the land may be quenched and bring forth much fruit. Father, we also pray for those in our county who suffer from addiction. We ask that you remove influences that hinder those individuals from coming clean from their addictions. Be with our law enforcement, rehab houses, and court system. Guide and direct them. We gratefully pray this to our Father in your Son's precious name. We pray. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, review of our May 15th meeting minutes.
I didn't notice any corrections or changes.
I don't have any corrections, but I did become aware that we needed to amend the minutes to include the bids that were submitted at the last meeting for the stone and other requirements that had been previously requested by Todd Howell for the highway department. So I asked that our minutes be amended to include those actual bids that we had received, which only came from New Point Stone.
So we'll let the minutes reflect that. Any other changes?
Nothing else. I'd move to approve.
Second.
Concur. Claims. Question on claims?
Just as an educational standpoint, I noticed in the claims there was a 1000 series bulletproof report writing from the sheriff's department. And I guess the question is that coming out of the training and education fund? Or a different place?
It should be, yes.
Out of the training and education fund.
So looking at the claims information that we have here, the fund that it shows that it's coming out of, Sheriff, is that it's coming out of our county general.
I'll be honest, the research I did that to you.
Okay. And then I had a couple other questions for some other things that were submitted for county general. I'll certain I know what it is. It's just listed on our sheet here as fork set with case and cigar lighter. When I first read that, I was like, what is it? But I looked at the claim, I'm guessing it's tuning forks
Yes.
for a radar and
Yes.
car radar. Just gave me pause when I see fork set with case and
Yeah.
cigar lighter.
Maybe you guys are having special steak dinners down there or something.
But I'm guessing that's what that was. So
Yeah.
that'd be correct, Sheriff. So I'm okay with that one. And then the only other one that I had some questions about, some Enjoy Sugar 20-ounce canisters, a pack of 3. Victor Allen's Coffee Variety Pack Morning Blend, looks like coffee, for the sum of $85.80. That was under claim 136. And then some heavy duty paper plates, a 500 pack, sum of $175.96.
My guess is that was provided for training that's going on in the department.
Okay, is that something then that would be, if that's going towards your training then?
Yes,
Okay, so those shouldn't be paid out of county general then?
we'll take out donations if we need to, yes.
Claims.
That's it. Yes. Those were the only two big red flags. So Sheriff, do you want to submit a new claim to have those?
Yes, we'll do that.
So with removing those claims, and there is one under 136 that I think is appropriate. USB flash drive, I'm guessing it's for your guys' actual use.
Correct.
Or would that go for training materials that was supplied to?
No, that's for transferring evidence to the prosecutor's office.
Okay, yeah, so I have no issue with that. So it would just be those first two claims on 136. And then the bulletproof report writing under claim 141 that would go to the education fund.
Correct, yes.
So with those, I guess, eliminating those from the claims, I would move to approve claims.
Second.
For have payroll, May 26th.
Any questions?
Nothing for me.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Next up, Todd Howe.
Actually, can I back up
Yep,
real
yep.
quick? As far as cell phones go on claims, do we have an accurate list of everybody that we are paying for their cell phones?
I have not put together a list, but it's easy to do, to
Okay.
get it,
It's something that you can get from your office?
Mhm.
All right.
yes.
I was gonna ask department heads then to give me that list, but if we can get it from the auditor's office, that's fine.
Yeah, no question, so.
Sorry.
No, we're good. Todd?
Well, good evening. County, what I got to report, we're still continuing out there to mow, run the bush hog and the new Max we got, trying to keep up. We're out there patching still, dirt patcher. We're still out there burning. Right now, our AFI broke down. Looking forward, I think that machine's about shot. I'm having a hard time getting parts for that. I may be looking ahead to possibly look, see if we can get a used machine for parts, but we're looking into that. Haven't done anything with it. Continuing to spray out there on vegetation. a pipe came in for 200 south, down there between 700 west and 850 west. We got that installed. Added an extension onto another pipe on that road, so that road is open now. We had a critical finding on Bridge 70 by our inspectors from United. And that is on 50 north. It's in between 850 east and 950 east. And with the critical finding, we had to shut that bridge down. The embankment had moved forward about a half inch to an inch. So the reason why we closed that down per law, you may say. And that's the reason why we were redoing Bridge 73, which is on 150 north. So I sent you guys an email in regards to that. I would recommend that we close that bridge permanently. I know prior to doing that Bridge 150, that Mark and some of the others had talked to the people on that particular road about making that a dead end road and putting a cul-de-sac on it. So going forward, I need to do a report to Bias or whoever it is with the bridge people to let them know that we are going to abandon that bridge. I haven't done anything with that yet. There's still time to do that, but at this time, I think that the best solution is shut that down.
What's the timeline that we have to do that by?
You chime in on that, John. What is the timeline that I have to report that as abandoned?
Yeah, I don't think they're looking for anything since it's closed and the critical finding is in place. They just want to know a timeline. I would say something within the month would be fine.
Okay.
So we've got time. Sorry, go ahead.
Is there access from both sides then?
Yeah, there's access on both sides down to the bridge, but the bridge is shut down. Barricade, stone, so nobody can pass on that bridge. Nobody can go across either way.
So we just made to make a decision to make that permanent versus currently temporary.
Yes, if we decide to do that. Like I said, we've got till next meeting. If
That's
there's
something
more
we should have a
information.
public meeting for, right? We get the public's opinion.
So let them know what
I
our
know
thoughts
that the
are.
locals on that road didn't have a problem with that prior to us redoing Bridge 73. But like I said, I'm kind of in the middle of all that. That was in Mark's tenure, and now it happened, and so at least we got Bridge 73 done, and it is passable on that road. We're still doing construction on that road.
And what road numbers out on again?
That's on 50 north. Bridge 73 is on 150 north.
But the one closed on 50 north.
Correct.
Between 850 east and 950.
Yes.
John, you have an estimated cost, what it would take to bring that bridge up to snuff if that was the decision?
Well, it's a foundation issue that we've been tracking for several years. So yeah, it would be a
Substantial.
Yeah, so it would be a replacement construction.
Is that something we need to send mailers out to, or what level of contact we need for the public to get their input?
But you just have to advertise it in the paper. I mean, that's an article in the paper, not just advertising. Everybody reads those legal
Right.
ads. Notify everybody on that road
Yeah.
what their thoughts are. Not that you haven't, but
Do you have off the top of your head, John, what an estimated replacement cost would be?
I do not off the top of my head, but that is something that we could get to you.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Okay,
No, I was just looking at it.
all right. I have been working with Janet and Mark to get the asphalt bid ready for advertisement for 2024. And the advertisement's gonna be run on the 13th of this month and on the 20th of this month. and it is going to be for community crossing, grant 2023-1, and for first and apply. So I'll be sending out emails to, the ones that want to bid on it. So,
What'll the bid date be?
the bid date finally needs to be turned in by July the 3rd. Well, that's when they're gonna be open, Mark, I'm sorry, I think it might be, I didn't bring a copy of that, it might be the Friday before that is when they're due.
I would suggest for simplification, that we make those due at 8:30 that morning,
Okay. And that's what I've got on my advertisement,
8:30 that morning,
yes.
and we'll open them then.
Yeah.
Then they could walk in Monday morning and bring them, rather than risk the mail on a week holiday coming up weekend.
Correct. And that is worded in my advertisement by 8:30.
Okay.
I bought in, prior to the meeting, we didn't have anybody bid on the pipes, structure plates. Civilcon, who we've used, their bid of 2022 is up there. If you prefer to look that over, but they've agreed to roll their cost over to
23.
Yeah.
Did they say why they didn't submit a bid if they were already
No,
in
they
business
didn't.
with us and they didn't submit a bid for 23?
They did for 22, and I don't know. But I was happy to hear they'd be willing to roll that over. Because if they did not roll it over, if we had to order any special pipes, any structure plates, anything of that sort, we would have to pay shipping and an additional cost. So I was pleased to have them roll over their bid. There's a document there for you guys after the meeting, if you want to look over the cost. That needs to be signed so I can send that back to Civilcon.
Did
And
they
then
give you,
also keep a copy of the highway department.
did they give you a deadline for when they need to have this back?
No, I know they've asked me about it, but you know, if it's going to be a week or two, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I'd just like an opportunity to look over the
Yeah.
information so that I know a little bit about it, but, their costs are, it's gonna be the same to us from last year, to this year.
Yes, yeah. And we, as far as their cost, we used to do it by the foot, and now we do it by the pound. So, they're the only ones that I know of that, roll the ends of the pipes. Some of the other companies out there do not do that, so that it's called a re-roll process. So it allows us to, on the ends, it's rolled to where we can actually put a band on there and tie it in, lock it in a little bit tighter. Okay, so we don't get any suck holes or anything of that manner.
You want to table this till
Yeah.
our next meeting?
Okay, yes, yeah, I'm fine with that.
So with the bid process, we don't seem to be getting many bids back. It's not a competitive bid because we're either getting none or one. Is there something that we can do or need to do to improve that process? Start getting some competitive bids versus either just using the same people. Can we reach out to individual companies that fit our criteria and send mailers?
Well, let's ask Mark who looks for bids. What's the best way, you know, in your day job that you find bids?
Well, there are companies that are on the internet that will reach out to asphalt companies, for instance. I mean, I get hundreds of emails a day. The Dodge Report, construction management, construction contact. There's just a lot of those companies that, and Todd being new, not picking on Todd, but Todd being new, hadn't made all those connections yet with, you know, who's available to look at. But another thing, this atmosphere that we're in right now, everyone's plate is full and not everybody's looking for work.
And I run into that. Subcontractors aren't looking for, they're not interested really.
You can pick and choose.
So, but my idea, even with the fuel bids that we got, it was just one company, so it's not a competitive bid process.
And that's sort of the way that fuel thing has run the last few years. It's been a couple of years since we've had anybody put Premier Ag bid.
Well, I think along with that, you got Premier Ag as local. Somebody in Annapolis, I mean, for anything, they're gonna have extra costs bringing here, so the cost's gonna be inflated.
But at least having something to compare to. I mean, a non-competitive bid process isn't a bid process. So
That's correct.
the question is, do we need to do a better job advertising? Can we reach out to people and try to make that more of a competitive bid? Otherwise, we're just taking whatever's given to us, and that's kind of it. I'd like to see a little more competition if we can figure out how to do that.
Well, I think in the past, I think Mark has basically hand delivered some or emailed some to other companies out there. Like I said, I was new this year, I did not do that. Up with the asphalt bid coming out, I have kind of researched around, so there'll be more than one bidder.
And the new point's telling me they don't all 40 counties, the transport for that, be pretty well locked in on that one. But just with the others, the more bids we can get, the more competitive we can be, and make sure we're getting the best price. And if there's 5 people trying to bid, and they start thinking about that when they're doing their bid, and they know there's just one.
Yeah.
There's no
You
competition.
just look at New Point's got locked in around here.
Well, in the past though, Rush County has bid and so has Ward's
Correct.
bid to us.
Those will be 2 that I'll reach out to next year. I also bought in our grader leases up. We started leasing these in 2014. There's 2 of them to do gravel road, to do berming, something I think is a necessity for the county. John Deere, Grader Lease, has presented me with a new lease program, which I bought into you. That might be, I think that's something that probably needs to be did according to Mark. They were wanting to have a decision by the end of this month. And apparently it's been paid for out of the highway edit fund. So if anything, that's a copy. You guys can look at that too. I don't think we need to make a decision on that until next meeting. If I do have to advertise that, I would like to go ahead and try to get something put together where I put that in the same time that I've got my asphalt bid in.
I don't know how much this is, so I'm going to ask you a question. How much is buying a grader?
Well, the only problem with buying a grader, because I've talked to this John Deere guy a couple times, the only problem is you lose technology.
Okay.
So if you buy like we lease these graders now, we started in 14, rolled them over in 17, rolled them over in 20, so they're 9 years old. So some of the technology's gone. And so that's why most counties, okay, according to this gentleman, most counties do a 3-year lease. Because you're talking after you buy it, it's used, it's 9 years old, buyout's almost $184,000. I think on this one here, the buyout, just buy it outright, 400 and something, 410,000.
408.
So the fear of insulting anybody, are we utilizing the technology, or are we still using it in its basis? Or do we have the training and the capability to use the technologies that we're staying up to?
Well,
I mean, I don't know how to use everything on this computer, so how is right now?
with the technology, it is, there's different things you can add to it. I think some of it's overkill. But they do offer a maintenance program that's included in this contract. The technology that comes along is more levers inside there, where you go 2 levers, where you go 6 levers. That piece of equipment's over my head. It's a 6-wheel drive. But we lost one of the best grader operators we ever had, and that was Randy Huff. I've got a couple guys that do a very good job at it, Joe Fivecoat and Jason Sperling. But I think the technology is important. Makes it easy for the operator to adjust and, cock the front end and cock the blade, pull out on berming and ditches. And so, but that was another thing I wasn't expecting, but it jumped up on me. I think you can roll over, they'll allow you to roll over twice. So your initial lease runs for 3 years. Your next lease, you could roll it over. I think it does come a little bit cheaper. In the third year, it comes a little bit cheaper, but he would not allow me to roll these over.
Do you keep the same grader each time you go over?
Yes.
Or they bring you a new?
No, same. Now, the only thing he did offer was if we wanted to specify whether we wanted a 23 model or a 24 model. So my suggestion would be go for a 24 model. That way you're not starting off a year at the same year you're starting. But all the documentation that I had on that, I kind of thumbed through that, and looked at it. I went and talked to Jerome, because Jerome had signed the agreement the last couple times to see what he could recommend to me, what kind of information he could give. And, I think a lot of times he went with Mark Moore's concurrence that, hey, let's roll it over, get another 3 years out of it, as much as we can. So apparently after they get done with these, Westside actually buys them back, or John Deere, and they send those over to different states that have a lot of dirt roads where all we're doing is dirt. We're doing dirt and we're doing stone as well. And we also do some cold mill patching with those as well. So it's a useful information for utilized piece of equipment at the county.
Yeah, there should be several companies that want to submit
Okay.
bids for this.
I'll dig into that and see what I can find out on that.
How many hours are we putting on every year?
Well, I think there's over 1,000 hours a year on that one. I know that the one that Randy ran all the time, he ran that 95% of the time. And I know that we got to the max of the hours, so we started using the other grader. So I couldn't tell you that detailed information really.
At least says 1,000.
I could probably get that from John Deere grader lease, that information.
And what were we paying with each one of these leases that we kept rolling over for having the 2 graders?
That information I could not tell you. I've got a whole packet.
I can't find what a new grader costs here online. I'm finding what used ones are about 1.5. Okay. Well, I mean, used ones are definitely cheaper than that, but I don't know if I'm looking at what you need, and I can't say that I have a whole lot of expertise in graders.
Yeah, no, I'm far from it too.
$410,000 over 3 years.
Well, it is an annual payment. I do know that.
So annual payment of 90,000.
And upon signing a lease, I think there's a payment required too.
Yeah, I think you'll need to, that'll have to be advertised.
Okay. I can dig into that and let you know about that.
Yeah, anything else for us?
I think I'm good. I got that tree approved back here on the courthouse square. Got the pothole fixed down there on 320, on the elementary school road. Do you gentlemen have anything else for me?
Do we have any information on getting the study started for out there on 150 South by Park Road, dropping that to 30 mile an hour?
I have not.
So just want to make sure we don't forget that request.
You need me to do that.
To request a study. Because I think we discussed in the meeting that that road would require a study to drop it from
Yes, I think-
55 to 30, so we need to conduct a study.
I believe that's where we planned it the last meeting, is,
So is that, is a study, you talking traffic count?
Yeah, traffic study.
traffic study, yeah. That's what the statute just says, traffic study, it doesn't really define.
So that would be, CERC does those traffic counts for us for free. You just have to get on the list. They have 20 or
know by law, that's what
30-day
they can
count.
do.
They can count for 30 days.
Do I need to initiate that?
Yeah, you might call Mark, see who his contact, they got new people down there, but
I think Tim seemed to know much about, he was here at that last meeting, kind of filled us on some of that.
I think I've got a contact on
the
that.
Southeastern Indiana Regional Planning provided the traffic counts in the past.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
So I think I've got a contact on that. I'll reach out to them.
They've got some new faces down there, I don't know who's very long.
Did you get confirmation that I had completed everything I needed to complete on my community crossing?
I have not. I
No.
meant to get a hold of them today.
I got a confirmation that it went through, but I just wanted to make sure
Okay.
that they had everything from hand. And then have you guys checked or done anything else for the trees in the creek in that situation up there on North 421 near Love's, in between Love's and the campground?
What about them?
It was trees that had been cut over right there at the bridge.
Ramps,
Yeah, at bottom ramps. Trees have been cut down, dropped down into the creek, and they were then flowing down through the creek. And I think his concern was getting that where the cattle are or his fences.
Well, I thought what we was gonna do is when we went back to that bridge, we was gonna take care of that.
Okay. I just didn't know if anything had
Okay.
been
Yeah,
addressed.
we're continuing to do bridge maintenance out there now. Most of the vegetation spraying has been being done around the bridges, so we can get in there and put the ridge for the scours.
I don't have anything else for you.
I'll get you know.
All right.
Kenny.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Since the last meeting, I had 73 building inspections, 23 new permits and plan reviews, had 4 permit renewals, and 2 complaints. One was on an ongoing property nuisance cleanup. The received a call from the person that was complaining that said that not cleaning up, bringing in more tires and vehicles, wants me to turn it over to the commissioners, so I called Tony Blodgett, told him I was gonna revisit the property, evaluate the progress. Also talked to the owner on site, and he and I walked through the property. He showed me his progress and told me the plans to get rid of the tires and the vehicles. No new vehicles coming in. Also, he plans on putting up a privacy fence on his property. So really, I found no reason to turn this project over to the commissioners. However, the complaint and cleanup have been ongoing for at least 3 years now.
Okay.
And the complainer called the second time and said they are not satisfied with the cleanup and want this to advance to the next stage.
Did we put any kind of timelines on the property owner when he needs to have it done by?
On the letter, I get 30 days. But usually I'm leaning on it if they're actually showing.
Yeah, since it's been, in my opinion, since it's been kind of ongoing, we need to be like, hey, you got 45 days or 60 days to get to this level. And then if not, then I think we go to abatement from there. But we set a hard deadline and try not to do, I mean, we don't want to do abatements if we don't have to. But we set a hard line on it and say, hey, this is the date that we go to. After this, it will have to be elevated.
This picture.
Which one's this?
So,
Yes, like I said, if he's cooperating, but not at a speed that's
there's pictures on the
satisfactory.
back of those too, if you flip it straight over to them.
I think that if we put a deadline on the property owner, like I said, we don't want to go to abatement if we don't have to, if they're cooperating, and that's ultimately what we want. But we can put a deadline of, hey, you've got 60 days from this date, or 45 days, whatever we think's appropriate, whatever you think's appropriate, but once they don't meet that deadline, I think at that point, we have to come back and follow through.
He's had some health issues and was telling me about family having health issues, and they've got his dump truck. He wants to wait till they get their health cleared up, so he'll get his dump truck. I don't know if it's just excuses or.
Well, and the hard part is that, at a certain point in time, those have to become a non-factor. I mean, if it's been 3 years that we've kind of been off and on dealing with it, I think we have to put a deadline on it and stick to that hard deadline. And then if that hasn't gone through, then to bring it back to the commissioners and move forward. But we have to make sure, I think, that we're just following up on these things.
Right.
If they're complying, great, we follow up until we get to an actual completion. And then we put some deadlines on those, and then if we're not, then it has to be a little bite to the ordinance, so to speak.
Gotcha.
That's my opinion.
Did you get a count on the number of vehicles that were out there?
On that one?
Yeah.
There's like 2 left, and I think they both have plates on them, and he said one was his son's friend, and the son's rebuilding the vehicle, working on it. And the other one was his, they had both have plates on it.
So it's just tires and the general trash.
The tires is the main thing, he's got most of the trash cleaned up.
Yeah, progress is good, but like I said, once progress early is great. Once it gets fed out to 3 years, I mean, people who are unhappy with it, it's just longer than what they're happy with. So I still think if we've got good progress, it's good. We need to put a date on it that says, hey, this is the date it has to be done by. Otherwise, we have to do something. That keeps us from forgetting, because that happens. Like we'll put too long a time frame, we'll kind of forget on it. But if we put dates on it and build in good files and things.
Remind him that the county takes all those tires on Toxaway days. Can you get them there?
When I tried to tell him, I hope she'll let him wait till fall, because he said they had one in the spring, and they didn't take tires in the spring, they just didn't take tires.
First Saturday after Labor Day. Anything else, Kenny?
No, sir.
I still got some stuff. My second one was on I had a complaint on the goat house in Kingston being remodeled without a permit. Upon investigation, the house was gutted and new floor joists were going back in, so I red tagged it with a stop work order, and the property owner came in and acquired the remodel permit. He was also told to contact the health department about proper cleanup, and the owner said he did call the health department. And the nuisance property on 850 South still has over 20 vehicles and trailers on the premises. It has been over 30 days, so now
And we were able to confirm that the property owner received the letter that the tenant
not the tenant.
has not.
Property owner is his father or
Yeah, property owner's mom and dad, from what I understand.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, the commissioners send a letter, basically, this is the appointment date for making it. Because again, it's another long-term, 2 or 3 year process where there was either no progress or little progress, and
then move a few vehicles from one place to another, make it look like you're doing stuff.
so I think at this point, we'll need to go ahead and file for that abatement. Send those to the, again, the property owners and the tenant, give them a date. And then, my opinion, if they want to resolve it prior to the date, they will okay with that, but there needs to be hard, steadfast timeline for them to get that chance got down.
routine
Just
letter.
send me the files, so I know where it goes and who's talking to.
Do we need to vote to proceed that way at this point? Because that's an additional step, just sending letters.
I make a motion that we file for abatement on the property.
I second it.
And I will concur. So get that to Chad. They'll take the next steps. All the information, tenant, property owner.
That's all I got.
Now, anybody have anything else? Moving right along, Mandy Mars, you got 3 seconds.
Well, all right, so I'm coming to you with a plan to maybe bring a shelter vet into or a veterinarian into the shelter. That would be doing all of our own spays and neuters, health checks. That's gonna save us money, over time. The way that I plan to finance it would be to use my adoption appropriation to pay the vet, and she would, or they would be part-time. And then that would also get us to the point that we would be compliant with like the new state law that everything needs to be spayed or neutered, you know, coming out of a shelter or a rescue. So what we've done so far is we did on the left side of the black thing here. We've gathered the data from the shelter appropriations. We've contacted possible vendors, excuse me, for cost averages. We've spoke with company representatives of a vendor that sets up the suites to gather the needed equipment and space requirements. We've gathered and compiled data from 2021 and 22 veterinarian charges. We found room within the current shelter building, began search for the used equipment to get the shelter vet started. And we did travel the other day and looked at some equipment that would be reasonably priced and purchased to start it. And we've gathered all the information and pulled research to present to you guys. So where we're at right now is, you know, we're here asking if we could do this. And then, so here is where, so the funds, hang on. Okay, so the funds needed for the surgery equipment purchase would not cost the county anything. We were awarded a $10,000 Petco Love grant that we could use to buy this, the needed equipment to do the surgery suite. And then we also have an additional amount of money within that grant that could be used to buy the gas for the anesthesia machine, suture, all the stuff that would go along with the equipment. The vet salary, you know, taking your 20,000 from our account number 34,300 and using that for the adoption charges. And within phase 1 and 2, there'd be no additional insurance needed due to the fact that all the animals are still property of the county. We would like to, and then possibly within, when we're ready, possibly, you know, if we can get the okay to do this, we'd like to be able to do like a third phase where we would take into the accounts associated with insurance and other needs before moving forward and offering like lower cost, basic animal care to the public. But it would be like using like Medicaid or whatever, doing like a sliding scale to where they would still have to pay something, but it would be reduced cost. That would in turn maybe keep animals out of the shelter. We see that a lot of people that will come and relinquish animals is because they need medical care. So if we can get them that basic medical care, get them on medicine or what have you, we can keep them out of the shelter, and you know, then we lower euthanasia rates in the process. So, and you know, our projected start date would be when the budget rolls over for January of 24.
So your thoughts, the vet would be there 1 day a week, 2 days a week, or
2 to 3
on a
every
regular
week.
schedule?
Right, yeah, exactly. Yes, and then I wanted to show you the next page over. So we went shopping and I found a vet that is retiring. And everything that we need is over here on the left. His total is $2,960 is what we can purchase everything for. Your low end average cost would be $20,350 new, and the high end cost would be $25,780. So.
And you said that money currently, you've got Petco
A
grant to pay for all
$10,000,
that.
yeah.
So that's all grant money to buy all your equipment.
And then when we flip forward into the next page, so if you'll see here, here's our 2022 build amount and 2021 and 2022 build amounts from the current vet that we're using now. And between the 2 years, we've spent $59,853.82. And last year, we did ask for additionals. It was like $13,000, I do believe, that we had to go over on our adoptions.
And you feel like 20,000 is gonna be a salary that you're able to stick to for at least a year or two?
Yeah, I mean, she would only be working, or they, whoever. I do have one that's interested in, but it would only be like maybe 8 days a month. So. And so, she would be able to do the basic, like, the healthcare of it and stuff. Well, then we would also be able to, buy our own medicine to where we're not paying the upcharge for antibiotics or any kind of medicine.
So it saves money, doesn't cost any additional money, but gets more potential services.
And like I said, on down the line, let's start little, see how it works. And then, I would like to be able to offer more and more low-cost resources to the community, and not to be just known as the pound or the shelter. I want to be there to help people.
So are you paying the fees right now for your spay and neuter out of the adoption charges?
Yes.
Okay. So right now, at the
Oh,
report, the report that you provided has $11,406 left in as of May 9th, 2023. We're here in June. Is that going to be enough that if you can bring this vet on board, or bring a vet on board here in the next 30, 60 days, is that money going to be enough to pay them in that time period, or is it?
I was looking at, if we could do it, that would be something that would probably be a next step that we would have to, a contract or whatever. But I was looking at January 1st. But at the way I'm going right now, I'm gonna be asking for more money for, the end of the year.
Are we currently under contract with the vet we use? Do we have stipulations or guidelines before we cancel that?
And the thing is too, he's not made any contact with me to let me know what the raises are gonna be. I did notice on the last invoice that rabies did go up like 50 cents from 10 to 10.50. Well, that adds up. And I wasn't notified about this. So.
Will having the part-time vet require us to have a vet tech?
I would serve as her like surgery assistant. I could go in and do that. The other girls, the kennel techs could do it as well.
There's
No.
prereq or qualifications or anything that you don't do that?
Nope. And I did want to say too, that the equipment's like 31 years old. We know it's old. Well, there are grants out there that we could slowly start, getting the grant money to buy newer. And then what we could do is like maybe sell that off to another shelter that maybe wants to start doing it. It's becoming like, I think there are 31 counties in the state right now that went to using their own vets for their shelters.
The space required for this area, is that gonna put you in a bind for?
No, because thanks to ARPA, we ended up with our big gray building out there. So then we can take the room that we kept for storage and the freezers at, that would be a perfect size. Once everything done.
Yeah.
I think that's a good plan. Save, like I said, you know, at the end of the day, if we can save money plus potentially future reduce the amount of dogs we're utilizing, I think it's a good point. You know, we've got a grant to cover the, you know, at least the get started stuff, and then, you know, also try to have ways to upgrade that. That's grant monies or through self-funded, you know, future, that's stuff. Prevention's a good thing too, if we can get into that.
I've got no issue with that.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a good plan.
Full speed ahead. Appreciate all you do out there, man. You really do. Anything else from Mindy?
Thank you.
Sheriff, she had 3 seconds, you got 2.
Thank you for your time. You should have received an email with a copy of the contract for Agile Control. This is a contract we currently have, and it has to be renewed in this contract. If you look on page 3, they have a bronze plan, which is a 3-year contract. If we sign up for the 3-year contract, we get a 5% discount. So I'm just asking for approval to renew this contract for the next 3 years. We're a little bit early on this, but I'm trying to prepare a budget for next year. That's why we're a little early. And this is the maintenance agreement that runs all of our key systems throughout the building, our video system, our audio system. It's a very important contract for us.
I would, and I'm serious in this, if you would ask them to, if we do a 3-year contract, if they give us 10%, because they did negotiate last time.
Okay, I see that.
They did come off a little when we asked that.
I'll reach out to them.
Doesn't offend me at all to ask for a discount.
I can do that.
You guys are good at that.
Yes.
Yeah. And you said the bronze plan is what you were looking at?
That's what we currently have, and it's worked out well these first 3 years. It really fits our needs, so, yes.
Bill, when did we sign the last time I thought we signed a 3-year contract?
It's getting ready to expire at the end of this year.
It is, yeah, okay, I didn't realize we signed it 21. Thought we did.
Time flies when I have fun, man.
Yeah,
Does this have anything to do with inmate phones?
No, that's the CPC, it's a separate. Then just real quickly here, here's our up-to-date commissary for the year. Brief little small Excel spreadsheet showing you we're at 57,000 right now. We're a month early on that as well, but I want to get that out in front of you so you can see where we're at. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them. You can see the March revenue was down. That's because, and you'll see that February was high. We took 2 sweeps in February because we had a card to pay for, so we needed some money. So that shows, that's the difference in those 2 months in receipts.
The next time you present this, if you could, out here in another column, let us know what you used with that, just like those cards, if you let us know that those
Okay,
show that. No.
sure. I can provide you that, no problem.
What else you got?
So, I'm almost out of my 2 seconds.
Yes, you are.
A quick 2 updates for you. On the water softener issue, Commissioner Blodgett recommended a gentleman. He came and looked at it. We never heard back from him. So we're still at the 1 quote we had. Now, fortunately, we haven't had any issues the last 3 months. So, but that's where I'm at with that. The landscaping issue that I brought to you last time, I did talk to community corrections. They don't have nobody doing community service type of work. And of course, like I said last time, we cannot use inmate workers just because of the safety issue. So I'm kind of at a standstill with that at this point also.
Well, we paid some pretty nice money to have landscaping put there for jail, and I hate to just rip it out. My thoughts, you guys.
I think the landscape, I mean, it's important.
How much are you spending a year to do the bushes and?
At this point, nothing's been done since we've moved in. So that's why it's looking pretty shabby.
The old one was 3,800 for annual.
Yeah, it's 3,700,
5,100
5,100 to rip them out, could river like that. So 14 difference.
try to get through this year.
Well, as far as checking everything out, putting river rock down or do the annual maintenance? Well, yes, either one, yes. But again, my opinion is we take everything out, put river rock down, maintenance is gonna be virtually free because they'll be spraying that, about it.
What is your recommendation, Sheriff?
My recommendation is to take them all out, put river rock down, because I'm in favor of less maintenance is better. I'm gonna pay 3,700 or 3,000 a year, whatever.
What's the current plan to maintain the berm on the south side of the property?
There is no plan. I want to get the building done first and then I'll move on to that.
My thought, I guess, is if we combine the two, what's the cost for that versus just doing one or the other? Do we get a volume discount, so to speak? Because we can't undo the berm.
No,
That has to be there, it has to be good.
Yeah. And then the maintenance on the berm, that is not inside the building, so to speak. So I'm willing to work on that later.
I would tend to agree with the sheriff on spending extra money every year for those. I know that we paid money for them to put them in the first place, but I guess when I look at things that attract people to a county or a community, when I think about really nice looking bushes outside the jail, I don't really think that's one of them.
They are nice, but
Sure they
they
are.
just need tended to, one way or another.
That's my view on it.
you have any spare time?
There we go.
Just kidding.
How much was it to fix? Dana, how much was it when you had to fix those valves?
I'm testing my memory on that one. I think the repair costs ran around 1,500. When they weren't repairable, about $5,000 or $6,000 a piece.
So, you pay for a valve right there by removing landscape for a year.
I don't know, my only second guess is once we do the river rock, I mean, you're still gonna have to pull weeds out of it, it's still gonna grow up, it's not a permanent solution. Get all the rock and stuff down, it still grows out, it's not trees or shrubs.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I live across the street. The shrubs soften the field. Just my opinion. If I were to live across the street, just
That's fair.
softens it up a little bit. Doesn't make it so
There
plentiful.
are some houses there, if you'd like to live across.
It wouldn't bother me a bit. It's very nice facility, however.
I would say I'll default to you to make a decision whether they come or not. It's your budget for the next 4 years and you need to be able to answer that.
Well, yeah, I have no plans at this point in time to do this, obviously.
That was the original question.
Our pockets are in.
You want to see my big shrubs?
Road sheriff.
Where are you suggesting for the funds to come from? Is it something that the commissioners have in their control, or is it something they have to a council for?
I have no recommendation on that.
I got an idea.
Yes,
Mark knows what it is too. You guys have a slush fund, plans and implementations. You haven't touched it.
Well, we're going to here in a little bit, about 3 more columns down.
Okay,
Get your shrubs out, I guess, and send me a bill,
Take them out, put river rock down.
and ask for a discount.
I'll ask for a discount.
You all right with that?
I'm fine with that.
me too.
Anything else for me?
how much are you talking?
$5,000, 5,800.
How much?
51, I believe. it was.
51?
You can get them down to 45.
Get him down to 45. We can cover that, can't we, Kenny?
stayed home tonight. You and me both.
We do appreciate your attendance.
Again, send him the bill. Send him the bill.
Send Mark the bill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Time has expired.
Just make sure you get this. Thank you for your time. I'm leaving, expecting another meeting. Thank you. I'm not leaving because I'm angry.
Keep the county safe. Patty,
Yes.
don't ask for any money.
No problem.
Excuse me. Thank you.
So the update for May, for May new hires, we had 6 total. 2 for the detention center, 2 park and rec, which are seasonal, 1 clerk seasonal, and 1 prosecutor intern. Just wanted to report back on the perf meeting. That was held May 22nd. We had a really good response. We had 37 employees that attended the morning meeting, and 16 had individual appointments with the perf representative. So hope to do that again, maybe annual, and offer that. So regarding the website and update, I've been gathering information from offices and updating pages and that, forwarding that information to the new web developer. And then there's another group that's meeting and working on the logo. So that's where we're at. Next, part of the compensation committee within the courthouse. And I've attended those meetings since I started, and I don't really know how long they've been around, but they've met for a while. And we have been busy, contacting other counties, gathering information on wages and kind of comparing and deciding what's best to do. Where we came down to was that we are at the point where we feel like we need some outside consultation. And there is a group that works primarily with counties. And it's called Wagner, Irwin, Shealy. And this was brought up a couple meetings ago. So I have the quote and sent you the quote. So what this would be job classification and compensation study. So a lot of this is going to be done remotely to try to keep costs down, but they would be working with all our employees here. It would not just be department heads, it would be the actual employees where we would try to find out what they actually do. And then we would be building new job descriptions, which are badly needed because we don't have those here. So it would start with the job description. From there, it would be the compensation study on to make sure that we have people in the right classifications. It's called a COMO system, if you're familiar with that. That's used in all the state jobs. Making sure that we have people in the right FLSA categories or exempt or non-exempt. And then they use a point factor. So it's an evaluation of the job categories. And then they go outside, and again, they have a lot of this information already, but they would be comparing us to other counties as far as our positions. And then come back and we should have something we would be able to work with for quite a while then. So I am going to ask for money because the cost of these services they have said would be about $44,000. And they would bill hourly, so it could come in under that, but that is the max.
Yeah, it's a letter of engagement not to exceed $44,840.
Right. And it would take about 6 to 8 months to complete. And they are able to start in July, or they were at the time that I first reached out to them in May. So
We did ask them, they would could bill half
They
in
will,
'23 and
yes.
the other half in '24.
correct.
This money would come out of our plans and implementation budget that Manny was trying to give away a while ago.
And the purpose, correct me wrong, is to try to create a job title so that not every single person who works in the office is compensated the same exact way.
Correct.
Their duties would change, so the new hire who comes in doesn't have the same duty descriptions or titles as a veteran officer of 10 or 14 years or 20 years. So we can appropriate valuations and dollar amounts to those for employee retention, progress,
Loyalty.
because we have lost county employees to other government agencies for those types of things.
Any other questions on that?
I don't have any other questions.
I don't have any questions. I've got one here. Yep.
So we've got no other plans for the money, correct?
For this types of things.
And we've been working on this for
This
2
is
years,
our
right?
second year.
Second year trying to do this without having to spend the money, so.
Well, it's creating some, they're beginning to get some hard feelings, I think, from employees toward those of us that are on the salary study, that it's not happening fast enough, or it's not fair enough. These are independent people who do this every day.
It's a lot.
And
It's
we
really a lot
meet
to put together.
for 3 hours, then 2 or 3 times a month. I mean, we've got a lot of time invested of our own time in this. Not that I'm not willing to keep doing that, but sometimes I feel like we're spinning our wheels.
Resolution isn't coming.
These
Where do
guys-
you think it should be?
These guys are on the outside looking in, and I think about having that perspective.
Sometimes the experts make more sense.
And this firm that does this, they work with other counties, so they looked at these same types of situations that were.
They're also the same company that has done our handbook, so they're familiar with us. I get a lot of networking with other HR counties, and different counties will send emails and ask, you know, what do you think about them? They get very good responses, so I've not heard anybody have any negative comments about it.
I make a motion, we move forward with that.
I second.
Thanks, guys. It's important. What else you got for us, Patty?
That's all I have.
You mentioned the handbook. In the 6 months that I've been here, there've been a number of issues that have come up. And I know you talked about how you're working on updating various parts of the handbook. Is that something that you're doing individually, or is that something that you've been talking this far about as well?
So far, what I have done is just make notes and gather language, and I have some proposed language. Again, just keep finding more.
If you're at a place on any particular change and you want to present it to us to get it implemented, I am perfectly fine with dealing with those particular changes
Not
as they
waiting
come.
until the whole thing.
Sure,
Okay, that's
because
fine.
that way we don't have a problem that is, continuing to rear its head, for us, where we can do something about it right now, and then we can make other changes, when we need to. If it's something that we know we need to change, then let's look at it.
I can do that.
Okay, thanks, Patty.
Thank you.
Jill and Amanda, welcome, and sorry you've had to sit so long.
That's okay, that's all right. Thanks for having us. For those that don't know who we are, I am Jill. I'm the regional sales manager for PHI Air Medical. You guys might know us as St. Vincent Staff Flight. And I brought with me Amanda Wilson. She is our base supervisor in Rushville as well as a flight nurse. We presented to the council last month a countywide opportunity to cover all of the households in Decatur County with our program. And so then it was suggested and encouraged that we would come and present it to you guys as well. So I've provided you guys with a black folder there. We won't go over the entire presentation because obviously I know that you guys, time is important, but on the right-hand side, we do have a presentation that you can follow along and also look back over. And then on the left-hand side of the folder is the proposal for the county of Decatur. And so a lot of times people have this misconception that their insurance is going to cover the air medical bill, and that is not the case. So even a Medicare patient will receive a portion of the flight bill. And so what we do is we start looking at counties that we serve and we start watching the flight volumes. And once we reach a certain point, it starts to become more beneficial to cover all of the residents, because what happens is if they are flown by us and you guys have our agreement, we cover all out-of-pocket expenses. And so before COVID, people had $500 deductible, $1,000 deductible. Now we're seeing them as high as $8,000, so somewhere between $2,000 and $8,000. So what we are proposing is we can cover each household in Decatur County for $6 a household per year. And that will cover any flight taken by a Decatur County resident from this county or any surrounding county. And so when we started pulling the numbers in 2022, we completed 20 flights, and then January through March of this year, we've done 8.
More than that now.
It's been more than that now, but yeah.
I was on the FedEx one.
Yeah, so right now, the grand total would be $61,056, and that is an annual fee, and that covers all households in Decatur County. We do not offer this to every county because we need to do what's right for the community. So if we're not flying very much, it doesn't make sense to have the county pay for something like this. But when we're starting to see 20, 30, 40 flights a year, and we can provide coverage for the cost of 1 flight per year, it makes sense. Because what happens is as our bills get turned into insurance first, then if Jeremy's flown and we're taking care of his deductible, his out-of-pocket, his co-insurance, as the local EMS bills come in, as the local hospital bills come in, surgery, etc., it shows he's already met all of that without having to pull from his pocket. So now he can utilize his monies to pay for the local ambulance and hospital bills, etc. Because these bills are catastrophic to most of us, even those of us that have insurance. So on average, people ask me about what the cost of a flight is. It depends on so many different things, but it ranges $45,000 on up per flight. With Decatur County, we do already have a 1 call in place, and I'll let Amanda talk to you about what that is.
So I got lucky at the last meeting because the dispatch manager was here as well.
She's still there.
Oh, are you?
And
Oh,
I
you
would-
didn't even say hi to me.
And Amanda,
I'm not.
I wouldn't say you're lucky that she's here.
Oh, no, no.
They're always.
Do you see how this is going?
Her and I are pretty tight.
So, obviously. Well, she definitely gets my emails. There's actually a couple people in this room that I send emails to every month, and what I do is I create transparency reports.
I was just gonna ask about that.
Yeah, so what I don't know who thought it would be a good idea to give me access to any type of Excel spreadsheet, but I have to do this. And I painstakingly go through all of our flights that we do for the counties that are assigned to me that we have 1 call agreements with, and I think I do like 5 or 6 counties that think I'm helping another manager or not. The way it works is every flight that comes through, I log and send a spreadsheet to you guys about the day it was, what the flight was, where it was, and who took the flight. So with our 1 call agreement, this county is sandwiched right between 2 of our bases. I manage the base in Rushville, and we also have another base right, base at Schneck in Seabourn. We also have one down in Madison. We have 7 aircraft total in the state, 6 of the staff flight program. And we share with this county, the way it works is I show the numbers to show that if we are not flying this patient, who the flight goes to. And by us not flying, it's usually because we're on another flight or Seymour's on another flight. And then you might refer it to Lifeline or UC Air Care. But I provide you guys with those numbers every month to show you how it works. And we send the closest helicopter within 10 miles. So by the time, so when the call comes in, we immediately dispatch Staff Flight 5 or Staff Flight 2, depending on what side the county is. And then we immediately call Lifeline 4 out of Columbus to see how close they are. If they're sitting in Columbus, and they're gonna be closer, then we will send them instead. But if they're busy or not in service or whatever, then we will send Staff Flight 5 or Staff Flight 2. Or if everyone's busy, it is trauma season, we might get someone from Marion or like from Indianapolis or Newcastle or this and that. With this county, same with you still need Staff Flight helicopters. The Staff Flight carries a lot of these flights, but also something to consider, which I think is important that most people know, we don't just pick up people off the side of the road. We can take the transfer flights out of the hospital to any hospital you want to go to. Even though we are St. Vincent Staff Flight in the state, that doesn't mean we take patients always to St. Vincent. Patients always ask me when we land, you know, especially if they're doctor with IU or this or that, you know, our doctor over here, can we go here? Well, it's like, well, I don't kidnap people, you know? So if there's a transfer coming out of the hospital, we can still cover that cost of the transport, even though we're not going to St. Vincent, which is.
St. Vincent basically paints our helicopters so that it's like a giant billboard for them. But we are all staffed and employed by PHI Air Medical.
And this just covers the staff flights, right?
It covers any flight from Decatur County or a surrounding county by PHI or staff flight, you know, it's a staff flight, yeah. Yeah, so legally, we can't, if IU comes, we can't cover their bill and they can't cover ours. I will tell you that Lifeline does not have countywide agreements because they basically don't bill the patient because it's rolled into their hospital bills. So that is something that usually is asked, you know, by counties as well. In Indiana, and we've only been offering this to counties for about 6 years. Warren County and Fountain County currently are counties that have it. Warren has been with us 6 years. Fountain is on year 3, I believe it is. The cost has not gone up. The way that we do the pricing is based off the census data. And so, for example, Warren and Fountain both are right in their budget season, so they agree to approve it in June and July, but then they pay us starting January. So they run January to January, but it's a 12-month whenever you pay. So if you sign it and you pay today, then it'll be the 12 months from then. And it covers all flights, yeah.
I was able to pull your guys' transparent reports March 22 to April 23. I only saw 14 flights.
For March and April.
March to April for a 1 year period.
What year was that?
March 22 to 23.
So we have 20 completed in 2022.
So January, February would have had, because I got all of them, and that's what I was looking at before the meeting, to try to just kind of prep. And it showed March 22 to April 23, there was 14 total flights.
Yeah, that's what was pulled for us before the last meeting.
Based off of your transparency reports.
And the numbers that I got for the 20s from a January to January, I don't know where 6 flights might have gotten missed here and there, but you know, I'm the one writing reports.
Okay. I was just curious, so I pulled them up, try to prepare for these sometimes with
Also,
learning.
keep in mind that anything that you might see on there, even if it's not labeled staff flight, we also have our Indiana 7 helicopter, that's also PHI.
So
Yeah, because we're the largest air medical provider in Indiana, so we do have 7 helicopters that cover the state.
So let me ask you this, if we signed a contract, would there be any chance of you locating a helicopter in Decatur County in the future? Not right away. Is that a contract that's by the hospital, which
With Rush,
if a
So
helicopters.
the way air medical companies work is they strategically pace their helicopters throughout the state to better serve each community. And the model that we go through with PHI and actually a lot of different air medical companies go by air methods, et cetera. They go by a community-based model where you're putting the aircraft in a rural area, so you don't have to come from the city out and then in. Where Decatur County is located, I would love to put a helicopter here, shorten my drive time. However, currently we've been sitting in Rushville for over 10 years and we're pretty far out in the rural community because that's what serves the rural areas that we're in. We can get to them fast and get them to level 1 trauma centers. We do occasionally shift things over. Staff Flight 2 used to be in North Vernon and it's been moved to Seymour.
Anderson was moved to Grant County.
Marion, yeah, up in Marion, Indiana. But Rush has no plans of moving. And we don't have a contract with Rush Memorial Hospital, but they do allow us to sit on their pad and we actually rent the hangar and we rent the it's like a trailer on the campus there that we live in. It's a little house. So I don't want to say we won't move, but we have no plans on moving Rushville. But people do shift here and there, but it's not huge shifts on a new basis. Like Seymour and North Vernon, that's just kind of a skip away.
Something else that we talked about at the council meeting, so for counties that we currently have agreements with, what we do is we then go back into the county, we do press releases and we do, we'll fly the helicopter in and do kind of like a community event, we do digital flyers to then promote that each household can purchase themselves an upgrade for $30 a year. That covers the entire household, but that's the national coverage. So if they're outside of the Decatur bubble, so to speak, whether it's traveling to work or vacations or what have you, then their flights are covered. So even if they're on vacation, as long as it's a PHI flight, same coverage applies, but that's on the household to cover, not the county.
How many requests were there in that same 22 and so far in 23 in which your services were requested that you guys didn't fly?
So the tricky part about that question is the number is probably about double. Because the last time I looked at it, I want to explain flights that we turn down. PHI has a destination 0 safety tolerance for a reason. If you look up crash records.
What's that mean, first of all, before you go into
Destination 0 means we have a safety program with us and we turn down flights for weather and state that our major competitor for this county doesn't turn down, but we turn them down for a reason. That's because we don't want, I have 4 kids, I don't want to burn up a hole in the ground. So not to be overly blunt, but I get really passionate about it. I've been flying for almost a decade now. And I have flown for a different competitor where I have been pushed to take flights solely because I know that staff flight program might turn something down because of poor visibility. In this county, there's a program that flies in, programs that fly in during icy conditions that we absolutely believe that is not safe for us, our staffing, our patients, or anyone that might be in the way. And majority of the flights that we turn down, either because we're already on a flight and it gets rolled to another one of our helicopters or to Lifeline, or because of weather. And I won't apologize for ever turning something down for weather.
Yep. No, I understand that.
And it's
So-
also even considered, you know, we can be dispatched for something and then be called off. They don't need us. So all of that is included in those reports. But we always tell people we would much rather you launch and not need us than to wait and delay time. And nobody gets charged for that. So every time we get launched and dismissed, we eat that. We don't bill anybody. So our proposal again is for the $61,000 to cover all the households for an entire year for any PHI flight taken by a county resident from Decatur County or any surrounding county for those flights. And that's for interfacility transfers to higher level of care, scene flights, any flight taken by us.
We'd estimate that's about half the flights taken. You guys take probably 50% of the ones that are completed.
Based off of request volume.
Yeah.
I
mean,
yes
of
and
the
no. It
flights
depends on
flown
the
out of
season.
Decatur County, we probably 50% with you guys.
Yeah, and it could be more if we did transfer flights as well. that's a cost we could save community within transfers from the hospital, even if it's not going to St. Vincent. So that's when you think about the benefit affecting the patient, getting their bills later, that's something that probably they weren't expecting. People really don't know about. It's really hard to me to give percentages on numbers, and I apologize, I'm not the most number driven. And I can get the request numbers for you.
Listen, I've got the
Because if you
transparency
look through the,
reports, I'm just kind
yeah,
of-
because the requests are in there, and whether it's turned down for weather or, and I've been really trying to push, in my transparency reports when I do turn something down for weather, especially for icing, in the winter months, and I've been trying to push why we turned it down, especially just for weather, just kind of show why we think it's so important.
How many years have you guys been operating there?
Oh gosh, we've been in Rush County for over 10 years now. Before then, they had an airback light team base there. I didn't think people in the county remember that base. They closed down and we opened up about a year, almost 2 years later. So that was, it's been over 10 years into that. And Staff Light has been in Indiana for over 18 years. Yeah, as PHI, because we were PHI first, and then we got a partnership with St. Vincent. We've been working great with St. Vincent ever since. It's actually a fun partnership.
Is this a one-year contract?
Yeah, it's an annual cost. Yeah, and if we go off the census data, so the only way that the cost would ever go up is if you guys substantially increase the number of households. Because legally that's how we pull it, is by the census data. We've got one county in Mississippi where theirs actually went down because they lost households. So, and you know, when we present to the board of supervisors there, they're like, no, we actually have higher numbers. It doesn't matter. We're going off the census data. So there may be years where we still charge you for this number, but you actually have more, and vice versa.
A lot of our request numbers too, I don't feel like I did a good job explaining that. The request numbers also include when we're turned down by the requester. So when the EMS gets to the scene, says, oh, we don't need helicopters. And that kind of skews things a little bit, but I also, they're always in my budget numbers because I pay the jet fuel bill every month.
And in your presentation too, you'll see the different coverage maps. The United States map, we actually have added some additional bases, so those aren't on there, but that gives you a pretty good perspective of if a household were to upgrade for $30 a year, all the bases that we have in the different states. What other questions do you guys have?
I have a question for Dr. Howe. The new health initiative money, have you guys thought about that any?
We haven't been to talk about it. I've been trying to figure out how we can work that in. I haven't come up with anything yet.
I know Danny and I had, after they gave their presentation at the council, it rang a bell. That was Sean's in here talking about the new health initiative money that could fit into there.
Well, I don't mean, but the people I talked to out in the public thought it was a great idea. They actually did. I mean, after they heard it on the council meeting, they thought it was really a good
I think it's a
positive
great
thing to
idea.
do.
My only concern, I guess, is that it's only gonna cover about 50% of the people that are getting flown, I think. I'd like to look at a couple of years coverage and see. I don't know if there's a better option necessarily, but.
Well, and that's the only problem too with Lifeline. They don't offer a membership program because they don't bill the patient. They roll it into hospital bills. So that's why some of the other counties, you know, they've gone to them and said, you know, what can we give? But they don't bill the patient, so there's no.
So if they fly
It's not a true-
Lifeline, they're not getting a bill. They fly
Well, they're
Staff.
not getting a bill,
but
If they're out of
no
pocket.
helicopter is free. So what happens is they go back to an IU hospital. It's a line item in the bill of the hospital stay versus us, we are separate. So we're going to show an air medical bill, and then you'll get a local hospital bill or wherever we take you. That would be separate.
But to recoup the 61,000 and
Well, that would be
My
one case.
study's about 3 flights, 3 helicopter rides out of Decatur County a year to recoup that money for our residents, is that right?
Or less, because 61,000 is gonna be about one flight. Now, a Medicare patient, they on average usually sit with like a $2,500 to $3,500 that they would owe. For those of us that have commercial insurance, Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're looking at our portion would be our deductible out-of-pocket co-insurance. And so we're probably looking at 10 to 14,000 that we would owe. So it all depends, and we take that risk because, we also are taking people who have no insurance, and those we eat the entire thing. And so some of those flights are even into the 80s, 90s on up, depending on where we take them. So, that's something else, and that's just a gamble that we take.
Like I said, that was my only thought. If 20 people a year fly on average, and we're helping 10, not in the other 10 are they're done with it.
No, I
I don't know if there's a balance to do anything with that. It's just something that's in my head.
Yeah. Well, and the good thing with the one call too, once we're dispatched, we're doing what's right for the patient, and that's calling whoever's closest and available, and that's what the transparency reports are for. And so that's a good measure too, to see how many times we have to roll it to a competitor. And that is always a gamble with all the counties. I mean, any county that has our program, we've got them all over the US. Those who do have competitors that they can get bids on, they do. Most of the time, it's not in the county's budget to do both, so they look at who provides the most. And with you guys sitting in between 2 of our bases, we get a lot of the calls. And once an agreement is signed too, I mean, obviously we then go to dispatch, we go to the hospitals, they're aware of it. And so they are going to try to do what's right and, call us, obviously, so that the community gets the bill, so that the resident won't get the bill.
We already do that.
No, with one call, but I think she's also referring to transfers out of the hospital as
Yes.
well. So most of what I get out of the hospital is our high risk of transports. Because we also do specialty high risk of for the state actually. We get quite a bit. Rushville actually does the most in the state, not just in Rush County, but we take those out of Decatur County, out of Richmond, Indiana, and all over. So we have the especially high risk of team 24/7 with our crews as well, which is really nice. And then we also are the St. Vincent's pediatric team as well. So we're trained as adult, pediatric, and high risk of weed. And then we also have our NICU aircraft that we use as well. And Rushville is also retrofitted as a NICU aircraft.
So if we don't do this and something happens, all of those other helicopters or crew are flying for some other reason. You guys are sitting on a pad either in Rushville or Seymour. Even though you don't have a contract with us, do you fly or not?
What do you mean?
So like if all of the other service providers are unavailable because, some calamity happens somewhere and they're unavailable, we haven't contracted with you.
Oh, it doesn't
We
matter.
should
I mean,
still fly here.
oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because right now we don't have a contract, we fly
Yeah, we
here.
still,
Yeah, and because there's a lot of counties where this does not make sense, it's not the right thing to do for the community at all.
So our citizens would still have the same.
Yes, it would just be the
Ability.
monies would be out of their pocket. Yeah.
Do you have a time frame for us for when we need to know?
This quote is good till the end of the year, because we pull census data in January. I just know a lot of times budget, is June, July, 1st of August, so.
And the money's an issue. I'd like to think that as well too.
Yeah. Absolutely, and you got my business card, email, and Patty's got it, and
So if I can get the transparency reports from 21,
yeah, I think it's
all I have is March to April, 22 of March to 23 April. So January, February, 22.
I just.
I was gonna say, because you're not on my email list, so I don't directly send them to you. I send them to you.
I was checking those because I thought that's when you took over as base manager, and I hadn't received anything from
Because I took over for him.
Right, since October of
Yeah.
'21, I think.
But
it's
I have
on
them
there.
on my SharePoint. So I can get those as well. But
And
you
then
will see a
my-
steady increase, which was also what kind of alerted Jill to come out here and do this, is an increase in twice every year.
The only full year I had to provide for him was when you took over until.
Yeah, because I took over in November, it'll be 2 years.
Thanks, gals. We will investigate sources of funding and
Can I just send those to you? And then you forward them on? Is that okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bev,
Here, Mark. Okay, well, hey, before I mentioned this, but I'm on the agenda for, I did want to thank you guys for opening up 200 East, and I know that's been such a big topic of discussion, but it has increased and helped with traffic to our business, so I thank you for opening that up. We'll never get people to leave the barricades alone, but I appreciate that being open. So I wanted to come to you tonight about, in my position as Washington Township trustee, to talk about Lake McCoy, because I get phone calls at least twice a week wanting to know a couple of things. Most requests for an answer is why are we not doing anything to force the mobile home park owner to clean up that area? And the second one is, why are we not cleaning up what we own ourselves as the township? So I wanted to just kind of come and get some answers about, I guess, help me to answer this to the people who are asking me every day. I do explain to them what my responsibilities are and what even authority I have, and that really is not in anything, most of what they're asking for. I can take care of if somebody's having a fence line dispute, or if they're having, weeds problem or overgrown brush, grass, that kind of thing. That's not what they're asking for. So I really haven't been able to help anyone with anything they're asking. I did get a chance to go talk to Krista one day, and she was very helpful to me to kind of get a feel for what maybe happened over the last year when the new owner of the mobile home park purchased that and made a huge mistake. And he's now not really, I don't think he's willing to do anything, and he's really kind of looking to dump it off on someone else. But in the meantime, it's really just gonna keep sitting there looking like it is. And I've had several residents again call me, come in, I think I see a few here today, and I'm glad that they did, because what I have done is just said, well, this is what I can do, and if you wanna go beyond that, you need to talk to our commissioner. So sorry if I overstepped and that was maybe not what I was supposed to do, but that's why I'm here. I want to really know what I can do to have people get some answers. And also wanted to let you guys know what I am doing to do our part with properties that we own, because as trustee, unfortunately, I am in possession of 16 lots out there that were purchased by the former trustee, and wanted to let you know our intentions with those. I do not want to keep them. We do not want to have them in our ownership. They currently some of them have structures on them, and we're negotiating, hopefully will be the end of a contract that was made, tried to be made in 21 when they were wanting to get the larger bond project, and all that failed, so there wasn't the bond money received, and that was supposed to be some of the cleanup money, and then were additional appropriations made a couple of years to try to clean it up. Nothing was ever done. So we now are looking at a point where it really does need to be cleaned up. But that contract with the company Envoy, who was supposed to clean it, that clearly was based upon funding, which didn't happen. So Laura Williams, who is our township attorney, is working with them to try to solve the terms of that contract and see if we can, where we can move forward with that, if we can find someone else, or if they're still willing to do it. And that really stemmed from phone call I received on January 9th after just having been in the office for a week. And they said that they were, Johanning Excavating was headed out there that day to start the demolition and cleanup of those properties. And I said, whoa, okay, hang on a minute. I'm not really sure what's going on, because at that moment I didn't know what kind of money we had, how much. He said it would cost $54,000, and That just scared me right away because at that moment I really didn't know how much we had. And I also didn't know how I could confirm that what he was going to do was the correct things, because at that point I had already discovered that another trip out there by another contractor, at least one tree was cut down, maybe it was only one tree was cut down that wasn't ours, and then the township had to pay for that and attorney fees to go along with that. So I wanted to have some time to really look at making sure that what we're gonna clean up is ours, and we have the right to do it. And I know that, talking to several of you too, that boundary lines are so, I don't know, we just say non-existent out there almost. So it's really difficult for us to know, and I guess I'd like for us as a group, it doesn't have to be here tonight, but how can I work with some of you or hear from some of you as to what we really can do safely, legally, properly out there? And most importantly, this is to be the most important thing, without displacing anyone. If someone's living there, they can live there peacefully, where they want to, if they choose to live there, if it's safe for them, if that's where they want to live. I have no desire to make them leave there. But again, it needs to be safe and it needs for them and the community. So what can we do to look at all of those things? I know that's a lot. And maybe this project is a lot, and I hope there's no one upset at me for even bringing it up, but I just really want to look at the health and the safety of everyone who lives there, but also the ones who live there who take care of their properties. Some are wanting to sell and they can't, they're not going to get what their value out of it because of what's around them. Many of them have to go through the mobile home park first to even get to their home. And so would anyone visiting them, or so would anyone going to buy their properties. So it's really, I guess, kind of stressful and really just,
It's embarrassing.
discouraging.
It's horrible.
Embarrassing. There you go, for everyone. I've had a few phone calls from some people, I don't recognize her face, I know Brenda, but anyway, just to kind of start a discussion about what we can do and help me to help them, like even know, well, I know there's a conservancy out there, and I admit I don't really know what all that means yet, willing to learn and to work with someone on that. And I suppose by owning 16 lots, our township is a member of the conservancy. I talked to Danny about that.
And now I heard since the loan for the lake was paid off, we no longer have a conservancy.
Okay, so yeah,
That's
so
what I've
we
been
don't
told.
know. So,
So-
you know, someone help me.
Based off my finding, that's not true.
Really?
The conservancy was originated in 1992 to not only repair the lake, but to maintain that lake. And those court documents lay out a budget to do that annually.
Driven by
So they don't do
tax
that.
dollars on that conservancy.
Correct.
They don't have any money coming in this year.
Yeah,
They zeroed out the,
But they do have money in their checking account. They have money in an account.
you know, they've got a budget,
They
which
have-
I've looked
yeah,
at, but
yeah,
it's,
they've got money
once
in
it's
an account.
depleted, it's gone.
Right.
So Davey, the tax levy on that
The
is.
tax rate's been zeroed. I don't know why, but it was
Well, I
zeroed.
did talk to the president of the conservancy, and he
Uh-huh.
said that he just didn't get the paperwork done last year. He just didn't get it done. So maybe, you know, that's something that,
But to that effect, the conservancy wasn't there to pay the bond. The conservancy was there to do the project and then maintain that and increase the recreational use for that. So it was a multi-year throughout the whole thing. They were supposed to be maintaining, the conservancy's purpose is to maintain that, not just pay for the bond.
The wording from those documents. Yeah, the wording from those documents appear to be talking about the water itself. And Chad, it's something at some point, I'm sure we'll have to have you talk about or look at. But my reading of it is that it's based only on the actual lake itself. They talk about addressing things to do with the dam and downstream effects of Lake McCoy. But it does not address the housing or other things that have to do with the complaints that you're getting. So I don't think the conservancy itself affects those complaints.
what documents are you looking at, Jeremy?
They were the original court order that had allowed the conservancy to be established. There's actually a case number. You wanna write that down?
Yes, yes.
Yes, so that's
16 CO1 9001 MI 20.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so the Conservancy was created through our local circuit court in 1992, 91, 92. I think it started in 91.
It started in 90 and the order was at 90.
Okay. So I've had several questions to you. Is it actually an option for them to even dissolve that conservancy, and then what does that look like? You know, is that something that happens, and does who becomes responsible for things?
Well, the
I don't know,
Conservancy
guys.
owns the lake.
I just don't know, yeah.
So the lake itself is actually property of the Conservancy. It was donated by Nancy Woods to the Conservancy in its inception.
Okay,
So the Conservancy owns the lake.
and if they were to be dissolved, or is that even, can they be?
I don't have an answer.
Then what becomes, yeah, and I don't either, so I'm just saying, so what becomes of this, yeah. So, but also just looking forward to some complications that might arise from this discussion, or even some, motions ahead of this. If we look into that, we find some properties that maybe have some defaults in their setup as far as a septic or a sewer or something. I talked to one lady, I'm not sure she's here, who has like several different lots. None of them would maybe be large enough for a proper septic system, but if were able to combine all of them into one piece of property, then maybe it would be. So is that something that going forward with that, that, I know they would have to go to a zoning, or is that even something that could be?
It's my understanding that those properties would have to be able to be surveyed so that they can be combined.
So each individual property owner would have to pay for their own survey, is that correct?
And it would have to be basically all of the properties. would have
And
to be
I don't think one person could survey their property. They would have to go back to the beginning, dissolve the original plat and relay it out, because the original plat has no lot dimensions. It doesn't tell you the roads, widths. It has 5-foot lake access between properties and there's no way to determine where to even start. So it would have to be, in my opinion, it would have to be dissolved, or vacated. The original plat would be vacated and then completely redone.
And I can say that opinion is supported by our county surveyor, because I had a discussion about him.
And that's doable? I mean,
That means that every property
it's
owner
something,
out there.
I mean, that's gonna happen, I mean,
That means every property owner out there has to be willing to have their lots completely redrawn and be willing to work with where those lines meet.
Is there, looking at the plot lines, are we talking about structures, whether it's homes or
They're
barns
on
or whatever,
parcel line.
that's exactly, that are actually going?
I've got a
There's-
burnt down house. Half of it's on this property and half of it's on this ownership, and this guy bought it thinking the whole house was his, but the line goes right through the middle. So then when it burnt, of course,
He only owns
not how he is a moment.
he doesn't have to do that because he doesn't have them. There is, without dimensions, lot dimensions, without a starting point.
And in that same line of the property lines, I have, someone who's adjacent to one of the properties that the township owns that has an existing structure on it. It's a horrible one, but it's there. And because if you just look at Beacon, or what he thinks is the property lines goes right down through the middle of that, so he thinks he can use half of that. And he has been, so I'm like, yeah, you have to get your things out of there because it's not your property.
But there's nothing that says that it's not his.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and that's just it.
And that's why I hesitated with not, getting some of the things.
But if you start talking about like property line disputes and fence lines was within your bailiwick, I mean, that is what that whole place is. Fence line disputes and where your property lines lie. So I mean, it is certainly something that could be within the township's purview to take care of, because the entire property is, where can I put my fence?
But it doesn't mean the township has to pay
Just saying
that,
it's,
we just have to.
saying it's
make it.
within your preview, what you said you guys were able to do.
Sure, sure.
If I may insert, that's only for livestock.
Only for livestock. So, I have spent hours, did I say hours this trying to talk to everybody that I can on this subject. And I think that the starting point is to create a committee with the departments that need to be a part of the conversation and try to come up with the least nuclear solution. But I don't know that there is a great solution that's not going to displace people. I don't know that that's possible, but I do think that between area plan and the Board of Health and the surveyor and treasurer's office and the conservancy and the township, we have to get at the table, put all of the actual problems on the table and not pick which ones we want to talk about and try to come up with a solution that's sensible. I don't know that anybody's gonna be happy.
I think the immediate though, with some of the concerns about the condition of some of the homes, I think that's something that can fall under Kenny. With similar nuisance type properties is what we had discussed earlier tonight. I think similar complaints can either fall under UBEV, depending on what it is, or under Kenny's jurisdiction, as far as what's actually going on at that property. So I think as far as the immediate condition of some of the structures there at Lake McCoy, I think those can be addressed in an immediate way. Immediate is in, that's an answer that we can have. It's not gonna happen overnight, but it's something that can be addressed without having to look at the problem as a whole, like the conservancy as a whole. I think that is a potential solution for some of the issues.
Yeah. So again, the most common is the mobile home park part itself, which is one.
Right, but we can't go out and just put the mobile home park.
Right.
We need to address any and all buildings that are outside of
But that's
ordinance
one
boundaries.
individual
Correct.
person's property, same as if they live next door to me, isn't it? Or
Right.
is that different?
No.
Go ahead, Krista, sorry.
No, that's not different. But I
Okay.
think if Kenny were to open up legitimate nuisance letters to everyone, then everyone, no one's gonna feel singled out. No one's gonna say, well, you're picking on me, well, what about my neighbor? It's gonna be the entire project, and maybe at that point, we can get people to come to the table, hopefully agree on something, how we move forward, maybe get the agreements to replat it, maybe, if they know that they're not the only ones gonna clean up, and they know that everybody's behind them, and everybody's gonna work for the same goal, but at the same time, the conservancy has to clean up that lake. It is dangerous, and I think the Board of Health is gonna have to help us out, but those are things that we can look at down the road. The lake's an issue, and the septic out there is an issue.
And I know from my history being out there in the past 10 years, like, there's more than just the trailer park that has houses that need to be addressed and structures that need to be done. So to say, hey, we're gonna go look at the trailer park and we're not gonna drive the rest of the property it's not the right solution. We can't go to the guy that bought the trailer park who's been there for a year and say, hey, this is it and we're pushing hard. We need to take, again, a complete review of the area and look at it all. And then we need to see who's in and out of compliance with our ordinance, and we need to push forward. And that is something, I agree with Jeremy, that we can start doing sooner rather than later. We can start working towards compliance. Again, abatement's not the goal. Resolving the ordinance violation is the goal. And the committee can continue to meet or start meeting on the rest of those things and monitor and track that. So that's something we can get Kenny doing rather quickly. I mean, he's got to fit in with everything else that he's doing too, but being able to go out and drive and match properties that he feels are outside of ordinance with names and owners and then sending out letters, I think that's something we can get started. But we have to look at. I mean, if there's still a house out there that's burnt down and not taken care of, I mean, we need to look at that. If we have houses out there that need to be condemned because the walls are falling in, that there's no notice, there's no nothing on, we need to look at that. And that's where the collective of the committee needs to come together so that we don't have a single hand doing one thing and nobody else kind of knows.
16
And again, I know I'm
properties are gonna be
I know I'm sitting here thinking there's not a whole lot I feel like I can do or say, because I'm just as guilty as them.
Well, you have to
We
lead the
own
charge
this.
with taking care of your property.
Yes, right, and I'm trying, but again, it's a little tough to, when we know that we don't even know if this one, for example, I can even knock it down because this guy thinks it's his, we think it's ours, so, that's really tough, but,
Well, but if it needs to be knocked down, it's gonna come down that it doesn't matter who
we
it
just have it
is.
down anyway, so, yeah, but he's finished coming down. There
But
are,
if it's half his, then he can pay to knock it down.
oh, there you go.
He can pay the half to knock
You
it
can
down.
have that.
Well, that's what I said, so now we get the Board of Health potentially involved, they go out and condemn the home because it's not worth living in, or we can do that through whoever's appropriate for that, and then it needs to come down by order of. And then the argument is that whether you can take it down or not, the argument would be who's going to do it, because it needs to be done. So if we're trying to save a structure that shouldn't or can't be saved, then it's a null viewpoint, but if we get into property line stuff, then we start getting, and I don't know how to solve that problem. I honestly don't. I'm not the person in the room to work on that. Between you and the county surveyor and everybody that lives out there, we're gonna have to come up with some kind of solution. It's almost unsolvable.
I can tell you this much, I've had 2 surveyors on my place trying to get a starting point at Lake McCoy and can't find one. Because I gave them copies of my survey and the whole 9 yards, and they couldn't find a place to start off of me.
I know on ours, we've got stakes
If you
right
got-
outside the road.
If
I
you
mean,
got stakes, you're in good
Yep.
shape.
Yeah.
and I've already got my proper, I mean,
Most of
it's
it's boundary.
privacy.
Most of it's boundary surveys. But for the trailer park, when that lady,
Yeah, that
her name Lucy
Laura.
or whatever it was, something, but
Yeah, like I said,
She had-
I
she had
talked to
2
Andy
surveyors
this
on my
morning.
place traipsing around for 2 hours
Well, she thought she owned mine.
trying to,
I talked to Andy for quite a bit this morning, and he was very clear in expressing the difficulty of doing anything with surveying and plotting out there. But it doesn't mean it can't be resolved, it just means that we have to present a potential resolution, and then people have to agree, and if the property owners don't agree to the resolution, then it doesn't get resolved. I don't know how it works, when you talk about getting into high-level government oversight at that point, which hopefully we never have to get to.
Government taking.
The property paper that I have, property cards I have, says Northwest 1 point, all those that, or the language that I don't understand necessarily when you go back. So does that not help someone who to survey that? Where it says.
If you know where it starts.
is that big oak tree still there? Is that big oak tree still there? I mean, I'm being serious.
Yeah, no.
Is that big
agreed,
oak
yeah.
tree still there?
Yeah, because that's
I
how
mean,
some of that stuff was done.
you
So
know,
I
it's-
think Andy explained to me this morning that that plot was originally laid out in 1905 or 1920. And it was like, they just drew some squiggly lines.
Right.
Like, almost
No
literally,
roadways,
like, there's there's nothing there. So,
There are a few residents here, and I don't know if it's okay to see if they have any
Absolutely.
questions or want to make any comments of something that we didn't discuss. They're the ones who have to live it every day.
No, I would just like something done. I don't care if they knock down the trailers and let the weeds grow over them. I mean, it's awful. It's embarrassing, and driving in and out of that park every day. It's rough on your vehicle. Winters, it's bad. When it storms, rains, all the gravel washes down and into the road. I mean, it's just a big mess.
yeah, and I know in the past, there's been discussions about who's supposed to maintain them, because everything from the little half circle back, it's all 100% private property.
That's private.
And based off of my readings of the legal documents for the Conservancy, there's no legal requirement for them to maintain insurance. And there's no HOA of any sort, there's no anything that says how that stuff's supposed to be done. So it's a giant mess. So again, it's gonna take cooperation from the people who live out there to come up with something. Whether it's the creation of an HOA where everybody puts their money in and it gets taken care of, or whatever, but the Conservancy, in my reading of that thing, and I read through, I didn't get through all of it, but I got through a lot of it. I got it. So 100+ pages, I think, of documents that we received. It doesn't outline anything where the Conservancy is supposed to take care of those things, which I know was conversations and arguments in the past that the Conservancy was supposed to do those.
Now, I thought it was the trailer park.
responsibility.
But once you get to the top and you go past the trailer park, who's responsible?
Right.
So that property.
So that's just like the road I live on. It's the people that live on that road, that's our responsibility to take care of that road.
So there's
So
two
that's-
entities out there. Lake McCoy's north of the road. The trailer park is Lake Crestwood.
Right.
So there's really two different entities out there.
It was 10 at one point in time. And then isn't there properties on the other side of the trailer park between 46 and the trailer park? I know that at least one property out there is privately owned.
There are a couple of individual lots of
That
it,
are on
yes.
that road.
Yes.
So you've got individuals, then you've got the trailer park, and then you've got individuals. So the
But the trailer
easement right
park
away.
also goes up north of all of Lake McCoy too, or just a large wooded area out there too.
And if you go to GIS, the trailer park owns 60 feet around the lake, I believe.
Assuming the GIS
Assuming
is
that-
correct. Because by deed and by the legal things, the entire lake was donated to the Conservancy by Nancy Woods.
Lake front is what the owner says he owns. Yeah, the lake.
Yeah, Nancy Woods, the one that closed the second
West bank,
exit out of that
the
place.
property along the west bank, sorry, yeah.
Like I said,
So,
it's,
yes, lots of issues,
it's
so-
not an easy solution, which is why nothing's been able to get traction to do anything, I think. I think we just have to get a committee with the right people involved and try to come up with a plan, present the plan to the residents and the property owners out there and move forward. I mean, that's the best I can tell you.
Okay, as an effort to keep this from being a morning meeting like we rescheduled, I'm gonna appoint a committee. It's gonna involve Tony, because it's his district. Kenny, Sean, and Bev to get together. If you want to invite the surveyor, you may. Krista, please do. You can get any help you can from the assessor's office or any other office in the courthouse.
I would like to get the treasurer involved at some point. I know that there's some conservancy back taxes owed that may be a source for us to collect monies.
And if we could
Get
get
back
the
into
tax rate
conservancy.
back and get some money going
We'll be able
toward
to get
it,
till
then
next budget.
maybe we can,
But we're not making any headway here, so.
Mark, I feel like, I appreciate what Les done, so yeah, I think we did, so thank you for at least letting me know how we can start
And
this.
if there's any residents here, that's the plan of action, and if you want to be part of that, you're welcome to contact Bev and Tony and
You got my number.
get mine. Richard Friend,
Thank you.
thank you for your patience.
I'm a co-owner of the properties, always doing most of the speaking.
He's bashful.
Well, yeah, he is, his voice is. First of all, I want to thank you for letting us have this opportunity to meet with you and bring this forward. We're seeking to have 2 alleys vacated in the little hamlet of Milford. If you're not familiar with Milford, it's like 10 miles outside of Greenwood or Greensburg proper. And as directed by the auditor's office, they had told us the steps that you need to take by starting with the petition and going down through collecting signatures, discussing the item or the problem with the homeowners and certified letters and everything. We went through all those steps. And all the landowners who were informed and had this explained to them, it was discussed in minute detail on what was going to happen. We wanted the alleys vacated for the purpose of, our house is actually split in 2 by one of the alleys. And the alleys are not being maintained by the county, and they're being maintained by the homeowners currently. And for our sake, we would like to eventually put a fence, but we can't because that is officially an alley. So that's the main reason we wanted it to be vacated. And then the alley runs next to our house. We've also requested for that one to be vacated. And we did talk to all the neighbors, all the landowners who touched on this alley. one neighbor who did not sign the petition stating it's my property, it always has been, it always will be, and I take care of it. So, but everybody else, including Mr. Lee here, they were all very pleased with that. What this will do is, the purpose of this request is kind of a win-win, because the county does not have, not that the county's doing it right now, but the county doesn't have to maintain the property at all. It's being maintained by us, and we've been maintaining it, but not officially, not on paper. So this would just put it on paper, and we would bear the burden on the extra taxes, because we would be, you would take the alley, split it down the middle. Do you have the beacon up there?
I do.
I've got the printout if you need it. That's the sole purpose of asking, because we would like eventually to put a fence up. And right now, the property is not being maintained by the county at all. And I'll just throw this in. About 3 years ago, a tree fell on our car from our other neighbor. And so we said, hey, wait a minute, who owns this tree? So we went to Mike Fortner, who lived next to us, and he said, oh, no, before it was his tree. This is my tree. And then as soon as the car got smashed, no, that's not my tree. So we did some research, and we found out that it's owned by the county. So then we had to come to a meeting just like this, and we had to present, hey, you guys, your tree fell on my car. So this would, and you did end up having to pay the claim on my car. So it took a while, but the county paid for my car. And this would kind of, you would not have the liability of worrying about that in the future. And then it's a win-win for both. You guys don't have to maintain it. The county doesn't have to pay a penny to maintain it. And you don't have to take the liability for an accident happening. And the win for us is we get a couple extra feet on our property. We pay the taxes, which of course also benefits the county. So, I mean, it's really a win-win for everyone. And I mean, that's the way, I've kind of presented that to the homeowners, or the landowners bias. And, I think it'd kind of be silly not to want to do that. I mean, to say, it's always my property, because, you can say that all you want to, but according to the county, this is an alley. This is not your property. So, well, the beacon, you can see this beacon. Well, anyway, this gentleman over here was the one holdout of the 4 landowners we had.
All their properties.
Excuse me,
Yeah, just let her talk, and we'll give you a second, Mr. Lee, all right?
as you can look on the beacon, you know that the beacon, when you look at it, it's just a aerial view. It's not legal. It's not a legal deed. This doesn't give you a deed. But I mean, it's a good thing that, I mean, if the alley could be closed, it benefits the landowner right behind us, it benefits the landowner next to us, and it benefits the other landowner. The only reason the landowner on the other side of our property isn't here is because he's resigned from cancer. But that's the issue. I don't know. If you have any questions or anything I can answer?
Krista, you've looked at this.
Yes.
There are no utilities down
There's
these
no
alleys?
utilities, no.
Now, we asked that they 811 it, but I didn't hear it back from anyone. So I don't know if there are utilities there or not. The alley behind their house we didn't really see any reason why that shouldn't or couldn't be closed. The undeveloped road, I guess, the undeveloped road beside their house. We were concerned about utilities. We're also concerned about landlocking any property owners in the back. So those were things we wanted to look at. I wasn't aware that it was coming today, so I don't have my paperwork.
Well, I'm sorry, but the land you were talking about that utilities run on, we weren't gonna request that be vacated, because I understand that that's a continuation of a street there. So we weren't interested in having that vacated.
Are you talking to the west of your house?
Yes,
Yeah.
the west, the Fortner, home,
In between your home and the Portland home?
yes, that is the continuation of, County Road, what, 716?
Yeah.
Ma'am, you wanna come up here?
Yeah. Oops. Yes. My back's a bit stuck to that chair.
So this area right here is what you wanted to vacate?
No, this is it's supposed to be the continuation of this street. Okay. That's not been developed, and this is where the tree was that fell on my car. This runs between, actually, we own this property and that property, so we want that to be close, so we don't have to worry about this part and this part. And then this alley here runs abuts, Mr. Lee's home. So the only, from what I understand, you close the alley, it's not just a portion, it's the whole alley.
No.
It's just a portion?
We can set fence wherever we so choose.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, can I chime in here? I went down and looked at that property.
Yeah.
Let me use my map here. Okay. But anyhow, this property here is theirs, this property here is theirs. The alley, right now, the alley's blocked off with buildings.
So that's what you actually.
That would be
Built on the
the
alley.
shed.
That's correct.
They're movable.
They do not own this property, or this property.
Right.
So if they want to vacate this alley, my suggestion, they give us equal part on this backside and make this all one parcel. Okay, they pay for the survey. That way, the landowner that is behind them, he is not locked. He can still come down this road here.
Okay, one thing, nobody lives
Right, but
I
there's no
understand.
property.
There's property there.
Okay. So I wouldn't vacate, being that their house is built off their lot in the alley, I would vacate to that particular spot. I wouldn't vacate the whole alley, all the way back to.
Just the width of their property.
Well, no, because this here runs, their house is built partially off that lot. Okay,
Oh, I
I would
see.
vacate this alley right here. Okay, this alley here, I would not vacate, but I would split them. They give us equal property back here. They pay for the survey, and then this would be all one parcel.
Robert Sneed owns the property next to his house.
Yes,
This empty
Oh,
lot.
there you are.
that's correct. But these three lots behind him, I think are owned by Mr. Carter.
No. Carter.
Oh, I'm sorry, I called you the wrong name.
On that map.
So that way he can still come down this, what they're calling a road, because he can still come down this way and go to his property. And he can still come all the way down here and get to his property this way.
And Mr. Lee is not here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And their house, looking on this is like,
Here's the house right here, and this here's the garage.
Yeah, that's really close to the.
Okay.
so like this shows like,
That house is built right on the out of the lot. Okay, if you scroll down here, there's a bunch of buildings back here on the alley.
right?
Okay, I'm saying if they want to vacate that, I'm saying we split that, give them the same amount that they're gonna take this out, they can pay for the survey, this here becomes a new alley. And I would vacate from right here to where the house is. Because there's no way for us to maintain that because our house is in the alley.
Right, can't maintain something that's not house.
But I don't think our house is completely, I mean, I think that we kind of did some of our own little work as far as how much space, according to our deed, how much, you know, how far, like 40 feet.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of the house, it's really in the alley, not all.
I'm sorry?
I want to look at that and show you.
So,
They're going by GIS maps on there and it's not right.
Yeah.
There's a fence that went down the middle after over 70 years.
here,
It's in between that square. This one down to here. There was never an alley as far as I know.
The fence is like.
Well, the way it's plotted out by lots,
Yeah.
it shows that as alleys. But when I went down and looked, you can look clearly down the road here, this is built as an alley.
Yeah, that
Oh,
was.
no,
we
that
made that.
is built in a road,
Okay.
a road right away.
He's talking about the one beside your other house, Jimmy.
Yeah,
So that's basically considered a road.
yeah.
We put it in ourselves. It wasn't like we have an alley.
well, I know that GIS doesn't show us because we got houses that are.
It's off. I need to
You know,
have it
this
surveyed.
probably needs to, it could be like Lake McCoy and get replatted completely.
Yeah, it's not.
Because we have homes that are,
Yeah, they're just, they're out of lots. I
but
don't know.
I wouldn't say, it's not as simple as, well, this has always
No,
been
and that's where
on,
they're
it's
talking
always
about
been
going
like
over the
this.
East trailer.
You know, you can maintain
I got
something
part
on
of
your
your- I
life,
got
but
part
it's
of
not
your
yours.
I got part of your
You
problem,
know,
I
and
talked
that's
to
what
Stanley
legally
about
that
it.
needs to be.
That would be my suggestion.
That,
Vacate this. This here, we split
I talked
it,
to
we give you
Stanley
the
about
property.
it. You're-
And we make the alley out.
I got back in here, it was too long.
Why is the
That
line
would be
way
my
up there?
suggestion.
Well, see, they own a lot quarter here. I just own these two
It's not
lots.
right though.
I just own these two lots. But I got a quarter of a lot here and a quarter of a lot there too.
Where our buildings are at behind Keith's.
Yeah, yeah. Well, where that building is there, that Jimmy put in that building
We
back here,
closed this,
and where I haven't cleaned up,
and we closed
Yeah, I
this.
didn't mind the alley.
get
Now
back
these
here.
ones get-
But they want to tear my fence
Well,
out. Change
he
the
has
property
a
line
street right here.
before I can have a survey.
Oh, there was, I didn't
He
know.
has a.
Yeah, they say.
Well, no, Keith's trailer's
He
right
watches
here.
up in.
Well, I mean, you know where Keith plans that wind breaking and bushes?
Someone got it.
Well, no, it just goes back to that wall.
So can we get everybody back? So we can maybe continue on here?
I need to know where the actual
So,
survey lines are.
so here, Mr. Lee, what is your position on the alleyway that immediately goes to
Yeah, I'm just
the
trying.
friend's property?
Go. Thank you.
All I was wanting to know is
All right.
if they,
I probably am too.
close the alley, do I get half and they get half, or how's it work?
Yes, if an alley's closed, the adjoining property owners split it.
Split it, that's what I thought, that's all I needed to know. That's all I thought, I just wanted to make sure.
Not sure that's enough.
Yeah.
Is GIS supposed to be like?
It's
not
It's not, it's not
It's a
a snapshot,
representation.
it's just, it's the aerial view.
So I can tell you right now, without looking at this deeper, I'm not considering the north alley. I'm not doing a property swap or anything like that.
Well, the north alley, we own both sides of that alley.
I understand that. But there's too many other things to consider when doing that right now.
Like,
doing the surveys, and from what I heard already tonight, we don't know if there's actually utilities running in those areas.
we've been told
Sure.
by people who've lived there for many years that there are no, because
There's no, but the
one that lives
original
back
phone
there.
lines is what I find.
I'm-
Yes, and if we need to use that for fiber or for future development.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I would like to bring up is, I think that's kind of fell on Mark's umbrella to vacate a road. Okay.
Yeah.
Me going forward, I'm really not open to doing that, just for the fact that we're giving them property that they don't own.
But Donald Carter owns 3 parcels back there that would be landlocked to his
That's
property on the
correct.
backside. So if you were to try to sell those
Yeah.
as individual places, there's no right way to get to it.
But if you look at all those lots down there, I was looking at that, I studied that, and then went out and looked at it Friday. Where there's supposed to be roads, I mean, there was no way to even get in there and maintain anything.
Right, and they're undeveloped, they're just platted, undeveloped roads.
Yeah.
You can't maintain them
Yeah.
because right now, in this particular moment, they're not necessary. However, if we get fiber, water, sewer, maybe, Forest Hill grows and all of a sudden we need sewer out there, or we need drainage, or we
They're
As
right.
far as water, we had to pay, how much did we pay? Almost $2,500 to have rural water brought out there. So I know there's no rural water out there. It's just us and a couple people in the area who's done
I
that.
think what she's trying to say is these areas of access between properties were designed for right-of-ways and development. And if we start vacating all of those, creates future issues that we're not able to solve. Does that sound what you're saying?
Yeah.
No, I don't agree with you on that. We've gone through a lot of trouble, we've done a lot of research into this and put a lot of money into this. And we think it should be considered because it would make life a little bit easier out there in Milford because we have too many neighbors who get into too many fusses and arguments over a few inches of land.
Sure, and I
I mean,
understand
that
that's,
happens a lot.
I'm not, you aren't asking me today to consider the vacation of alleys across Milford as a whole.
Right.
We're
We just-
being asked to consider something here that directly affects your property and your immediate property neighbors. So I mean, I understand what you're saying, that it would make things easier, but at the same time, if there's property line disputes, get a survey.
Well, we were told by someone at the auditor's office that if there's a problem, if one of your neighbors has a problem with your land, that it's the aggressor who is the person who's saying, nope, that's my land. Well, if they're going to be the aggressor, then they need to get the survey completed. Now, the problem with getting a survey for what we have a problem with is we're not wealthy people. So we don't, and we've already spent, a ton of money and a lot of our time to get this vacant. We're not asking for a whole lot. We're just asking for a little. It's not like we're gonna close the whole city of Milford down. And I don't know if you've ever been to Milford before. I mean, well,
Today.
yeah, it's a hornet's nest. Let's just put it like that. There's more dead people there than there are living. And if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. But, I don't know. I just think you need to consider, give us something.
I don't
We have
have
no
enough,
hope.
I don't have enough information today. I need to ask some more questions and look at some more stuff and drive out there
And, yeah, I
and see
need
what's
to
there
learn
before I
more.
can make a
I've
decision.
been there.
Yeah, there's nothing. There's, Milford is Milford, but there's,
But if we close the alley and there's a property dispute, half goes to one person, half goes to the other, the property dispute's still there. We're not fixing anything.
but if a tree falls on my big truck that I now have, that I replaced with your money that you gave me for my car, I mean, if that happens again, are you guys willing to take that? What if it falls on one of my grandkids? What if something like that happens?
I know it's a big what if, but you know, you're taking liability for something that you guys aren't even taking care of.
We don't have to vacate
I
the
know.
valley way to take care of that problem. There's other ways and resolutions to that. I think we need.
First of all, when Milford became unincorporated and was turned over to the county only accepted the blacktop roads. We did not accept the maintenance of the alleys because the alleys are not
Yeah,
maintainable because there are homes and buildings built in these alleys. If we decided tomorrow we wanted to maintain these alleys, a lot of people in Milford are gonna lose a lot of property.
Yeah, and also, now, streets are something that the county is responsible for.
They are, the
Okay.
streets,
There's a street next to us that the tree fell on my car.
blacktop streets.
It used to
It's
be
what?
blacktop, but it isn't anymore. But thing is,
And we took care, I was a commissioner, when the
and
tree
it
fell
took
on
a
your
long
house and
time
we
for
wrote
that to
the
happen,
government
but
check.
it did get taken care of.
Yes.
I just don't see there's nobody that lives back there. There's no utilities back there.
We're not
It doesn't
saying
matter
no.
anybody lives back there, there's a you can't keep someone from being able to get to their property.
We're not saying no, we're saying we need to look into the matter
I
deeper than
think
we have been able to.
that's true. You need to look into
But we
it a
can
little
table it
deeper.
and bring it back up at the next meeting and then make a decision then, but
Yeah, there are other ways to get onto that property besides, you know, we just need that little portion is all we're asking for.
How much of your house, did you have a survey when you bought it?
I don't remember when we had it last survey. But, the portion of the alley that's associated with our property, we own both sides of that. It's the one along the side of our house, that's owned by Mr. Lee.
But if you stated earlier that I think your part of your house was on that line.
It's very close to it, but it's not exact. If you look on the beacon, it looks
No,
like it's
I'm
right
not.
there.
I was going
But
off
it-
of what you said earlier.
It's very close to it, but it's not, we're not on his property. Or we're not
Are you
on,
in the alleyway?
we're not on the alley. It just looks like it when you look at the beacon.
Yeah.
But, you know, the
I mean,
beacon
it's
is
off on my
beacon.
house too.
Yeah.
I get that.
I just, there's a lot of, I'm trying to put this nicely, there's a lot of people out there who think that, you know, it's always been this way, it's always gonna stay this way, we don't get what you say, you know, that type of thing. And, you know, legally, you can't just do that, and that doesn't hold a bucket in court. You know, it's what's on paper that matters. And we would just want.
and
something-
that's what I need to look at. I need to look what's on
Yeah,
paper
that's right.
before I make a decision. We need to table it so I can gather some more.
Just would save a lot of headaches for those people in Milford, because there's a lot of them out there. They're just like Lake McCoy, if you wanna put it like that.
No, it's not. No, it's not. We know these property owners
There's some disagreement there. There'll be some disagreement
All right, what
there.
do we have
Motion
next?
table.
I'll make a motion to table it. Fairgrounds livestock barn lighting.
There's some lighting that we need to put up to replace the old lights out there, put in some LEDs. It'll help with cost efficiency, it'll help with lighting, it'll help with use of the building, side barn. So I would just ask for authorization to go ahead and replace all that lighting.
The estimate's $12,500.
Do we have those funds in the board to do that? I make a motion that we increase and do lighting in livestock.
Second.
And I'll concur. Request for use of facilities, Main Street wants to use food truck. This is amended, June 17th.
You had already approved it. All they're doing now is saying they need also to have the city parking lot to use that. By lakes.
The county clerk.
County, don't use that word.
So
They just want to use the county park lot.
they put a
Parking
new
or
drawing
food
in there. For, she's got it in there, I think it's for
Okay.
restrooms and
Yeah.
They're just gonna add restrooms to the side, the rest of it's gonna stay with park. They're just taking kill a bunch more parking. I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
From 1 PM to 10 PM. Approved. Next, on Eagles Wings, the 5K run and walk, August 26th. We'll take off down Millhouse Road. Highway Department sets up barricades for that. Have a map that's been going on, how many years, Patty? Several?
Yeah.
2013.
10 years?
Highway helps with that too.
Oh, yeah, it's your responsibility.
Hey, Todd.
You don't know what you signed up for.
Just be happy after we get this, whole study done, we'll know that's part of your job description.
We'll have it in writing.
Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
I got a little tab. You did request a share. Yeah.
That decision's up to the sheriff.
For the On Eagles Wings 5K, they would like the sheriff to go posted there because it said people are blowing through their signs.
Millhouse Road, Seabo Lane, Sheriff, is where their question is. I thought you'd be helpful in that. With the passing of Chuck Imsweller, I talked to the family, and it's been suggested that we do something at the fairgrounds. I would like for the commissioners to purchase a bench, one of the vinyl benches that match the others out there. We'll have a plaque with Chuck's memory, be placed out there at the fairgrounds, maybe headquarters building or someplace there. I looked into price, it's somewhere between $250 and $300, including the plaque.
Make a motion to make that purchase.
Second.
Thanks, guys. Anyone else have anything good for the cause?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. State your name, please.
I'm sorry,
Your name?
Marshall Cameron,
Okay.
live in Clarksburg. I want to build a 40 by 32 foot garage. Okay, my house is got two and somewhat partial lot. I went to the,
Area plan?
yeah, and got, Krista told me that if I would go and get a contract to have it surveyed, I can't build on two lots. So anyway, it's in the process. They gave me a permit to get it, go ahead with my deck. I want to build a pole barn, a garage. What I'm into now is a variance. The public alley, it's on 645 North in Clarksburg. The electric line is 6 feet from the edge of the blacktop. Electric company wants me to stay 10 feet north of the electric line. It's a flat ground. I want to build my garage up on as flat a ground as I can build it with the level road. My yard's got a slope in it, plus I don't want to build it in my backyard. I need the distance between an alley and a public road, which I know both of them public, but, and you have to excuse me if I talk loud, I'm awful hard of hearing.
I'm hard of hearing too, so you're doing great.
At any rate, what is the borderline building from an alley?
That's her department. You'll have to look in her office.
People tells me it's 30 foot, other people tells me it's 20 foot.
It depends on what you're zoned and where you're at, and if it's a rear or side, or we would just have to look at it and.
Yeah,
At any rate-
I think first step's gonna be to go to area plan and see what you've got and what you need to be, and then go through that approval process you guys for the variance, right?
That's not one of our issues.
Yeah, so go to the area plan commission and talk to Krista and work
We'll
on a
have to
variance
go
then.
To the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I
Yeah,
thought
so,
it was supposed to come up here.
No, it's the Board of Zoning Appeals, not the Board of Commissioners.
yeah, so just see Krista and she'll She'll get you
We'll
there.
get all the paperwork done.
Well, I understood it the other day, I was supposed to come up to the meeting on, Miss Martin told me that, commissioners meeting on Monday nights. I sit here for 2.5 hours for nothing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Stop in the office. We'll get you on the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Anyone else?
Motion adjourned?
There's that.
We are adjourned.